Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. Today, I've got a special guest, Jim Kerr, and we are going to be talking about his new book, The Indispensable Leader's Handbook, which is 101 tips from a top-ranked business coach. Love the book, Jim, and very kind of you to mention me in the front of it as well.
Yeah,
Um, what we're going to do is I'm going to pick my favorites from it. Before we do that, Jim, where can people find you?
you can find me at a couple of different websites. I mean, I am on LinkedIn, of course, but you can also find me at indispensable-consulting.com, and also the label that we've got there on the name tag, indispensable-coaching.com, which is just launching, and that's a subscription site where you can find all kinds of leadership content.
Okay, excellent. As I say, love the book, um, and it's great how you've excuse me, you've broken it down into a number of different areas. So you've got leadership mindset tips, strategic vision tips, company culture tips, people and talent tips, trust and empowerment tips, and change management tips. Why was there a particular reason why you wanted to break it down like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think those six categories pretty much sum up what leaders have to be concerned with. And I had tips when I was putting the book together. I recognized I had tips that fell into those categories, so it just made sense to kind of follow that through line and produce the book that you've got in front of you. You know,
Uh,
and as far as mentioning you in the acknowledgments, I mentioned a bunch of folks who
you
are
did.
incredible people who I learn from and who challenge me, and you're one of them, Tim. So
Thank
so
you.
good, so good to be able to
Well,
get that.
I used. I mean, I know it was very kind of you to send me a copy, but to be mentioned in it as well, I immediately ran through to my partner and said, "Look, I've been named in the book."
That's great.
So thank you for that. And there's actually a number of people on here, like Eric Stone, who I've actually interviewed on here. So uh, great people as well.
Yep.
So, what was your motivation in writing this?
Well, this is book number 7, as you know, Tim, and
Mm,
I felt like I was sitting on this incredible insight, and I wanted to share it. So I said, you know what? Let's put it together. The format of the book, I think, makes it special. You get the tip, then you get a description about why that tip's important. Then you get 3 different ideas depending
yep.
on where you sit in the organization. If you're a senior leader, this is how you apply the tip. If you're a middle manager, here's how you do it. If you're a supervisor, here's how you do it. And it also, at the end of each tip, it cross links that tip to other tips in the book so that you can see how this connects with something else in another section.
Yeah. It first and foremost, it's simple to read.
Yeah.
Um, and you've got the guru guidance, how to put it into action, and then the ideal crosswalk walk.
Yep.
And so you've got these. Um, you break it down into the vision, the company culture, people and talent, trust and empowerment, and change management to bring the whole thing together.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just made sense as I was putting the stuff together in the initial drafts. It just made sense to kind of do it this way.
Hmm.
And I think it makes the book very referenceable. I think you can take a quick look at it when you first get the book and say, okay, I know what this book is. And then if you're a leader and you're looking for ideas, you might go back to that book and look up, in the section that you're interested in, right, be it vision or mindset or what have you, and find some ideas. And that's how I want people to use the book.
Yeah, it's one of those books. I have a shelf down here, which is books that I need to reach to,
Yeah,
and it's going to go on that shelf.
beautiful. Love that. Love to hear that, Tim.
Which is exactly how you wrote it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I want it to be a reference guide.
So I've worked out my favorite numbers, and I
Okay.
think I've got too much down here than we've had time to do.
Okay.
But I'm going to read out. So the first one I'm going to do is leadership tip one, which is leadership is a choice you must make each day. So tell
Yeah.
us about that.
Yeah. It's the first one in the book for a reason. I think leadership is a choice. And you absolutely have to make a deliberate decision each day to be that leader that your people need. Leadership is about them, not us. So it's not about our title, it's not about our position in the organization or how much money we make. It's about how do we engage and inspire others so they can operate at their highest potential. And it's a choice, you have to make it. You can't just sort of breeze by.
Yeah, it's not something that I don't think leadership is one of those things that you can say, I'm a leader and I'm just going to sit back. It's an all-encompassing role today, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And title means nothing. I mean,
yes,
that's kind of an underpinning message in that particular tip.
it does.
Yeah.
So number 5, this is another one of my favorites. Well, they're all my favorites. So expand your mind by seeking out different points of view.
Yeah. Really, really critical habit for leaders to develop. You've got to be able to get out there and ask people what they think and solicit differing points of view and encourage people to offer a different point of view. Why? Because it makes everyone better. And if we can demonstrate that as leaders and show that we're okay being challenged, we're okay hearing a different idea, then everyone starts to operate like that and we get the best ideas for our organization.
Because leadership used to be, didn't it, was that I know, and
Right.
I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to follow what and then I'm going to cut the 10% at the bottom
Right.
of it. And it's
No,
not like that anymore, is it?
no. The command and control models, that work, and they still work in certain instances in the military, for example. You need to
Mm.
be able to have order and so on. But for the most part, command and control really doesn't work. It limits our options. So if we can open the gates a little bit, solicit ideas, get input from other people, get input from people that aren't even in our functional area, it just might, improve what we have to work with, the ideas we have, to consider and pursue if we want.
And it's okay telling people that we don't know.
Right. Absolutely. Critical.
And because leadership used to be that the leaders had had all the answers, and we don't.
Absolutely.
And telling people, well, I haven't got a clue. What can we do?
Yeah.
Because you're closer. I remember a VP saying to me, because he was in a situation where he was leading managers who then had individual contributors reporting in, and he said,
Hmm.
the further you move up, the further you move away from the customers.
Yeah.
So the further you move away from actually understanding what's going on in the business.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you better be able to open the gates a bit and let people give their ideas and best thinking.
So number 6 is a foolish leader laughs at knowledge.
Here I am laughing, Tim. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but the notion that I'm trying to come across there is if you're walking around with an attitude that suggests you already have the answer, that you know it all, then you're cutting yourself off from learning. So a foolish leader laughs at knowledge because they think they already have all the knowledge that they need. So what that tip is about is trying to suggest to people, and again, that's all those tips that we've talked about so far are all out of the leadership mindset section of the book. And what I'm trying to suggest is as leaders, we've got to change our mindset and open ourselves up to hearing new ideas, being challenged, learning new stuff, operating with a certain level of humility so that we can give back to the very first tip that you pulled out. We can give the people what they need to perform at their highest level.
And something that I've talked about a lot on this with other people, um, which is leadership tip number 7, which is only you can choose the leadership style needed for the situation.
Mm,
Because there are different leadership styles. And it's us that has to make the decision and to call it about what leadership style we're going to use.
right. I mean, it's situational. So the idea is choose the style that fits the situation. And I suggest in that tip that there are 4 basic styles that you need. at least, and then you build the rest. You build additional styles and leadership approaches from this foundation.
Hmm.
And it's about being able to inspire. So one of the styles is selling and creating that vision and getting people excited about the possibilities. Another one is directive. Sometimes your team's going to need you to point the finger and tell them exactly what to do. And then a third approach is support. You got to be able to come in as needed, knock out roadblocks, and help your team, perform. And then the last one, of course, is empowerment. And you've got to be able to let go of the reins. Once the team is prepared and they're trained up and they've got it, then get out of the way. And what's interesting about those four styles, that's why I call those the foundation stones. If you choose the wrong style for the situation, it will not work.
Yeah.
So you've got to make sure you're aware of where the team is and what they need from you as their leader, and then bring the right style to the table.
Hmm. So I'm going to skip forward to the strategic vision tips,
Okay.
and go for number 18, which is a leader envisions, a manager interprets.
Yeah. Yeah. So a leader has to be able to look out into the future and suggest here's what we can be. This is what we can achieve. Excuse me. And that's about envisioning the future. And once that vision is defined, then of course that leader has to share it and get people to understand it and show people how they can be successful in their own right by helping that leader achieve that vision. A manager, on the other hand, has to interpret that vision and translate it into actions that their people can take
Hmm.
to actually work towards vision achievement. So a manager is kind of translating that vision into something that's actionable, and a leader is someone who's able to articulate where we're going to go and why it's important to get there.
Another strategic vision tip, which is sorry, this is one of the company culture tips.
Uh,
Number 35, winning starts with culture.
yeah, it sure does. If we don't develop the right kind of culture where people are excited about coming to work, are energized by the possibilities, see that their work matters, recognize they're contributing to something bigger than themselves, then we've got a winning quotient, right? A winning formula. But on the other hand, if it's drudgery and people come to work every day with knuckles dragging on the ground and they're constantly looking at their watch, when is the day over? And their minds drifting off to other things, then guess what? Performance is going to suffer. So it's up to us as leaders to cultivate the kind of culture that inspires, that gets people to want to be part of something bigger than themselves.
And I'm going to just mention this one because I know you've got a big thing about decency at the moment. So leadership tip 50,
Yeah.
use the decency acid test and make a tough ethical decision.
Yeah. So a couple different things, and I do want to promote this indispensable-coaching.com subscription site because it's centered on decency and integrity and leadership. I'm trying to build a community of like-minded people who really want to be part of something special. So that's what that website's about, and it centers on decency. The decency acid test comes from Harry Kramer, who was the chairman of Baxter International. And he was asked at one point, uh, you know, how can you sleep at night? You've gone through this major, you know, uh, layoff, and thousands of people are out of work because of you. And he said something very interesting. And I write about it in the book, and I've written about it in some posts and even some articles in the past. What he said was, I ask myself two questions at night before I go to bed. Did I do what I think is right? And did I do the right thing? And if I can answer yes to those questions, then I pass the acid test. And it's a great little test. If you're doing the right stuff for the right reasons, then that's all you can do. All you can do is your best.
Mm.
And as a top leader like Harry was at the time, it was his responsibility to lead the company so that, um, yeah, some folks lost their jobs, but he was able to keep it going,
Yeah.
and not everybody lost their job, and that company, survived a challenging time under his leadership.
We had a comment from Joseph. Thank you so much for this. Reading the new book now, also think that number 11 is important. Not to be complacent, as many people climb the ladder to success and try and reach the mountaintop and then have no clue of the next steps. Consistency and sustainability. Thank you, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to look up how that was actually worded because it helps me. So it's basically, remember, past success guarantees nothing. That's how that tip was written.
Yeah.
And what that's about is you can't rest on your laurels.
Yes.
It's basically suggesting, like, great, you did some terrific work and you provided some wonderful leadership, and we are where we are right now. Where are we going next?
Mm.
And everybody in your organization is looking to you, particularly if you're a top leader, for the answer to that question. Where are we going next?
Mm.
So it's not enough to be able to say, hey, you know, I've earned this. I'm the CEO. I deserve this, and
Yeah.
then I can kind of
Do
check
what I
out.
say.
Yeah, you got to keep it moving forward. You got to keep being inspired so you can inspire others.
And we've also had a comment from Catherine Hall. Good morning from New Mexico.
Good morning, Catherine.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, Catherine. We're going to move swiftly to the people and talent area. Number 52, surround yourself with people who make you better.
Yeah. Well, again, it's up to us as leaders to build that team around us. And uh, as such, we've got to be able to ensure that the skills on our team complement one another so that we've got a robust capability. So that's what this tip is about, is like being able to be cognizant of the fact that you've got to build a team of people that have the skills. You don't want to have a team where everyone's saying yes to you.
Yes.
You, you really want to be able to have diverse thinking, diverse ideas, and a team that works together and respects each other, and collectively can be comfortable with whatever the leader decides is the right course of action and pursue that.
And Catherine also says we all need to keep growing. It would be boring otherwise. I do too.
Absolutely. Yes.
So on to the trust and empowerment section. Number 75, genuine humility disarms the critics. This is one where I came across. I went, ooh, I like this.
Ah, well, I'm interested to hear why you like that one.
I
Um,
I, I just think it's new leadership thinking.
yeah.
Rather than the Jack Welch. I still keep see people quoting Jack Welch on LinkedIn.
Right.
Um, and genuine humility disarms the critics.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, the idea there is, again, it's combining a lot of the thoughts that we've already kind of talked through. But it's that idea that uh, it's hard to be critical of somebody that owns it.
Yeah.
If they own their actions, they own their behavior, they own their poor decisions, because we all make them. We're going to make mistakes. It's going to be pretty hard for someone looking from afar to go, "Oh, that person's a real winner." They made this bad choice, and look at it now, and kind of snipe at somebody if they own it. So that tip's about building trust by owning your stuff, by being responsible and accountable, and don't make excuses. Yeah.
Yeah. I always I've liked the tips as we go further. We've only got time for one more, so we were into the change management tip. So I thought I'd pick number 101,
Oh, okay.
which is your final tip, which is don't take it too seriously. Things will change.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in hearing your reaction to that. But the notion that I had was, we've gone through all these tips and we've talked about some pretty important stuff. And we got into some theories that are kind of heady and hopefully challenging to you, as a reader. And then at the end, I'm kind of reminding, like, don't take yourself so seriously. It's
Mm,
not a game of perfect. It's okay. You're going to make mistakes and you'll get through it.
mm.
And that's what that tip's trying to remind us. It's like you've got this master's degree in leadership now if you read this book, but don't take yourself too seriously because you're still going to make mistakes and it's okay.
Mm. I did it last night. I was out last night and I was with somebody I've known for over 20 years. And she's now extremely important. And they were in a group of people and I was far too informal to her.
Mm,
And she came over a bit later on and tapped me on the shoulder, as you know. It's like there was a sort of like, I'm important now, Tim.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it was like, oh dear. But she'll get over it. But I'll it's the only way I can say in terms of, yeah, okay, I messed up.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
show I didn't show her the fact that she was important.
Right. Yeah. And owning it, like we talked about before, is the best way to get through it. You
Hmm.
know,
So, Jim, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your new book, The Indispensable Leader's Handbook. If I was to buy one of these, where could I get one from?
you can get the book wherever you buy your books. So it's available in, Amazon, Barnes and
Mm,
Noble, and even the mom and pop shops can order it for you.
mm.
It's got worldwide distribution. The publisher is Routledge in the UK. You know them, I'm sure.
Yep.
They've been around since the mid 1800s, and they've got worldwide distribution. So we can get the book to you wherever you are.
Mm. Okay. And where can we find you?
Again, two good places to start is indispensable-coaching.com. That's the subscription site, and also indispensable-consulting.com. And that's where I do my consulting work. So both of those have contact information. And then additionally, of course, LinkedIn.
Excellent. And we've just had one final comment from John Canvin, who says, I plan to get it. Thanks, Jim.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot, John. And thanks
Excellent.
to Joe for that question earlier.
Absolutely. And thanks for Joe and Catherine and John for
Yeah,
tuning in, and everybody else for tuning in, especially the comments. Actually, we've had one more comment from Joe, who says, a part of the format of the new book is great when addressing advice to multiple levels or managers. Thanks, Jim, for writing the book, and Tim for hosting. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. And thank you, Jim, for your excellent book.